Welcome to eSIM Planet. Cheap international data plans. Continue to use your existing cell phone plan. Just scan a QR code to install. In this video, I'm going to tell you why it's a fantastic idea while you're traveling overseas to turn off your Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, or T-Mobile cell phone line and perhaps save a whopping $13,470. Okay, on a serious note, here's why you might want to do it. Roaming charges. If you don't have a plan, you're on international roaming. And how much is international roaming for 1 gigabyte of data? Let's ask ChatGPT. AT&T up to $20,000 for a gigabyte. Wow. Verizon $20,480. T-Mobile $15,360. And Sprint, wow, what a bargain, $16,000. Of course, Sprint merged with T-Mobile and the data is somewhat old, but I've checked some of these numbers and they are indeed true. If you don't have a plan and you just leave your phone on, you're in deep doo-doos. So let's show you how to turn that line off. Go to Settings, then towards the bottom, Cellular. Then look at the SIM cards you have installed. In this case, we have a physical Verizon SIM card installed, and we have a Spanish eSIM installed. Go to turn on this line and just swipe to the left, and the line's turned off. Now click on Cellular at the top left, and go and turn on your eSIM now if it was turned off. Okay, that's the 1 minute and 30 odd second version for the TikTok crowd. I'm going to go over some details now, get into a bit of a deep dive of what's going to happen when you turn your line off and some of the workarounds and gotchas. Popular scenario, you're going overseas, you start out with your carrier's data plan. Verizon, I believe they call it a travel pass. T-Mobile has one as well, which I think is a bit better. So anyway, you're paying $10 a day, but you don't want to pay $10 a day. Maybe you're going away for like 3 months, and it's going to be like $900. You don't want to pay that. You just want to start out with a travel pass. It's probably easier to do than get an eSIM, although eSIM is super easy to get. So anyway, you start out 2 days with a travel pass, 3 days, and then you want to go to your eSIM. What is the best thing to do with your carrier, your US carrier? The best thing to do is to turn the line off. Why? Well, the problem is if you don't turn the line off, even though you may be getting your data from your other eSIM, you may somehow, I don't know, it might go into roaming mode. There could be any number of reasons why it maybe switches back. You turn the wrong switch or something, and you don't want to do that because if you look down here, whoopsie, you'll see they charge quite a bit. It's a whopping $2,000. Yeah, that's $2,000 per gigabyte if you don't have a plan, because they're charging by megabyte. So if you don't have a plan, say you just like took your phone over to Europe and you didn't have any kind of plan, you started, watching videos and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you'd be in serious trouble. Here, and it's not just Verizon. This is T-Mobile. Family went over, and according to ABC News, they forgot to flip the right switch or do this or do that, and they didn't have an eSIM. But they supposedly put their phone in airplane mode, and they got a $13,000 bill. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to show you how to turn this line off. It's really, really simple. So this is a scenario again. You start out on your Verizon, say travel pass, maybe for a couple of days. During that time, you're on Wi-Fi. You can do it on your travel pass. You download an eSIM. You install an eSIM, but it's not, your eSIM is say not active, or maybe it is active. Let's see how to turn you're just going to turn your line, turn it right off. So all you want to do is like iOS on an iPhone. It's super simple. Go into Settings. Go into Cellular. And you'll see the Verizon line is still on here. You see cellular data Verizon, because you have a travel pass perhaps. You'll see I have an eSIM installed, but it's not on, this Spanish eSIM here. So all we want to do is you want to go to Verizon, this thing here, you want to tap on it, and we just want to go turn off this line. It's going to say something now, perhaps. And we want to turn on the Spanish eSIM line. So there you go. You see Verizon now is turned off. You don't have to worry about any overages or getting slammed with massive bills because you forgot to get a plan when you're overseas. You'll see now we just have one line turned on, the Spanish eSIM, and just a little bit confusing, default voice line, Spanish eSIM. You don't actually have a voice line really, it's a data line. Some eSIMs can have a telephone attached to them, but mostly you'll have just a data-only eSIM when you buy ones from, say, Airalo or US Cellular. And the beauty of this is if you go over, use up all your data, say something happens on the first day and you use a gigabyte or something crazy, then that's it. You just use it up. They're not going to keep on billing you after that. You have to just buy more data. Gotchas and caveats. One of the beauties of using these things out in the field is you actually realize some of the caveats of these eSIMs, and there are some caveats, and it's something you probably won't get on Airalo or US Mobile or the other eSIM websites. So let's go into some of the caveats with eSIMs. Okay, so we've turned off our Verizon line. So what are some caveats of this? Obviously, you've turned off your phone line. Nobody can call you on your cell phone anymore using your regular US phone number. What will happen is someone calls you from the US, in Europe, or wherever you are, it just goes straight to voicemail. Also, no one can text you using traditional telephone number to telephone number, SMS texting, as we used to call it in the good old days. And of course, let's not forget, you can't call anybody, as in call, as in dial a certain digit number, depending what country you're in, and call somebody. You can't call to the US, and you can't call any phone number in your country that you're traveling in. When I'm talking about text, I mean SMS, traditional text messages from one telephone to another. On an iPhone, you will, however, be able to use their version of the text message called iMessage. That will work because you have data. On the iPhone, you'll also be able to make calls using audio and video, or audio only, called FaceTime. That's because you'll have data. Of course, there are some caveats using FaceTime, audio, video, and iMessage with your new data eSIM plan, and I'll explain this in a future video. What do you do, first of all, about voicemails? And this, to a larger extent, obviously, the younger you are, perhaps you don't even use your phone number, you just use it to text. A lot of people don't even use that. They use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger and things like that. So let's see, say you want to just get your voicemails. Now, a voicemail can be accessed, and if you remember doing this years ago, I remember doing this, you just dial your 10-digit mobile number. This is on Verizon, and I assume it's the same on other carriers. And then as soon as you get to the greeting, you hit the hash key, and you enter your voicemail password. Now, do you know what your voicemail password is? I didn't. I luckily wrote it down. Maybe you didn't. Then you're probably SOL. Then you have to call your carrier. Wait a minute, how can I call my carrier if I don't have a phone? I just have data. Well, we'll get on to the second thing. So now you can check your voicemail if you have your password, your voicemail, your PIN. It's like a 4-digit PIN. So how do you call people? How do you call people? Say you're in Spain. Say you're in London. Maybe you want to call. Maybe you want to get a takeout. You want to call a local shop. Well, good old Skype. I don't know if you remember Skype. It's probably your grandparents used it. They used to call you. Maybe they were, they had an old HP laptop, and they would call you with Skype, and you'd sit there. And so you simply download the Skype app from the App Store and install it on your phone. And it's like 1 cent a minute, I think, to make a phone call. And then you can make a phone call to any country around the world, including the one that you're in. If you don't want to do Skype, you can also use something like Google Voice, the same kind of thing. The calls are very inexpensive. And there's a plethora of other, they're called VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol type calling apps that you just download to your phone and you use like a regular telephone. So there you have it. Hope you found this useful, and see why it's important to turn that line off and not get a surprise bill when you come back to the good old US of A. There are going to be some eSIM plans now I've seen that come with phone numbers for the country you're in. I'm not sure how many minutes they give you or what other features they have, perhaps voicemail, so that should be useful in the future. Congratulations, you've just saved yourself $13,470. And as my old maths teacher used to say, slap yourself furiously on the back.